2:31 a.m., the central Persian Gulf, 73 nautical miles southeast of Bahrain. USS Cyclone, a Cyclone-class patrol coastal ship, 170 feet long, 331 tons, was on her standard night patrol. 7 Iranian IRGC fastboats just emerged from behind a stationary oil platform at 400 meters and opened fire with 107mm rockets. The first volley was simultaneous. All 7 boats, all at once. 23 rockets, 400 meters, from 7 different bearings. USS Cyclone displaced 331 tons. A 107mm rocket warhead carries 3 kilograms of high explosive. It does not need to penetrate armor. It needs to hit something. Welcome to Navy Beacon, where we break down the operations that define sea power. No. The oil platform. That is where the story begins. And that detail matters more than almost anything else that follows. There are 173 active oil and gas platforms in the Persian Gulf. They range from small single wellhead structures barely larger than a house to full-scale production complexes covering several acres of ocean surface. They are lit at night, navigation lights, flare stacks, equipment lighting, and they appear on radar as fixed, large, cluttered targets that surface search systems learn to filter out as background. They are, in short, perfect places to hide fast attack boats until the moment you want to use them. The IRGC had understood this for a long time. Their doctrine for fast boat operations in the Gulf specifically incorporated platform concealment as a pre-attack staging technique. Small boats rafted alongside a platform's support legs are invisible from any direction. They cannot be seen from a passing ship. They do not appear on radar as separate contacts. They merge into the platform's clutter return. They do not emit radio signals that could be detected. They sit. They wait. The 7 boats that attacked USS Cyclone had been staged behind the Salman oil platform, an older platform operated by the National Iranian Oil Company, 39 nautical miles from the Iranian coast, for approximately 4 hours before the attack. They had arrived individually, at intervals of between 20 and 40 minutes, each approaching the platform from the Iranian coast under the cover of the platform's radar shadow. Each crew had shut down their engines and rafted alongside the platform's eastern support leg, below the radar detection threshold. For 4 hours, 7 fast attack boats with 23 107mm rockets were sitting 4 nautical miles off USS Cyclone's patrol track. The boats had no radar signatures. They had no radio emissions. They had no thermal signatures above the ambient Gulf temperature because their engines were cold. From the perspective of any U.S. Navy sensor system, the Salman platform was a fixed oil installation with no military significance. USS Cyclone had passed within 3 nautical miles of the Salman platform at approximately midnight, 2.5 hours before the attack. Her surface search radar had returned the standard platform return: large, fixed, cluttered. Nothing had changed in the radar picture. The tactical action officer on watch had logged it as a routine contact. At 2:28 a.m., the 7 boat crews started their engines simultaneously. The start sequence on a diesel fast attack boat takes approximately 30 to 45 seconds from cold start to operational power. At 2:29:15 a.m., all 7 boats were underway and had cleared the platform's eastern support leg, turning south toward USS Cyclone's predicted position. The 400 meters from the platform's edge to USS Cyclone's position, covered at 40 knots, took approximately 18 seconds. USS Cyclone's radar operator, Seaman First Class Benjamin Park, was on his 2nd hour of watch. His radar display showed the Salman platform as a fixed return at 400 meters, the same as it had been for the past hour. Nothing had changed, except something had. At 2:29:30 a.m., the platform's radar return began to fragment. The fixed contact, which had always appeared as a single return, was now showing additional smaller returns separating from its eastern edge. 6, 7, 8 separate small contacts, all moving south, all accelerating. Seaman Park stared at the display for 2 seconds. He picked up the circuit to the bridge. Bridge, CIC, platform contact fragmenting. Multiple small contacts departing east edge, bearing 162 from us, range 400 meters, moving fast. The bridge watch officer, Ensign Thomas Rivera, was at the port window when the boats came out of the dark. He saw them before Park finished his transmission. Ensign Rivera had time to key the general quarters alarm. He did not have time to finish his warning transmission. The first rocket hit USS Cyclone at 2:31 and 3 seconds a.m. before the General Quarters Alarm's second cycle finished sounding. 23 unguided 107mm rockets fired simultaneously from 7 boats at 400 meters has a dispersion pattern that, in practice, covers an area of approximately 40 meters wide by 20 meters tall, centered on the aim point of each boat's launcher. With 7 boats spread around the ship on an arc from the northeast to the south, the combined dispersion coverage overlapped and effectively swept every exposed deck surface of USS Cyclone's 170-foot hull from the bow to the stern. USS Cyclone's armor protection is non-existent. She has none. The Cyclone class was built as a patrol ship for literal operations, not a combat vessel designed to absorb weapons impacts. Her hull plating is standard shipbuilding steel optimized for weight and seakeeping, not survivability under fire. A 107mm rocket warhead detonating against USS Cyclone's hull or deck is not meeting resistance. It is meeting a surface that it will penetrate or destroy. 9 rockets hit the ship in the first 3 seconds. The first hit the bridge structure, directly, center window, on the starboard side. The 107mm warhead detonated against the bridge console. The blast killed Ensign Rivera instantly. It destroyed the navigation station, the communications panel, and every piece of electronics on the starboard bridge wing. Boatswain's Mate Chief Petty Officer Williams was on the port side of the bridge and was thrown against the port bulkhead by the blast overpressure. He lost consciousness for approximately 20 seconds. When he came back, both of his eardrums had been ruptured by the pressure wave. The second and third rockets hit the aft deck area in the space of 1 second. The second destroyed the ship's secondary communications antenna array. The third hit the stern deck equipment and started a fire in the AFFF foam storage locker adjacent to the aft gun mount. Rockets 4 through 9 hit in the following 2 seconds. The pattern covered the ship's port side amidships, 2 hits on the hull above the waterline, 2 on the main deck equipment area, 1 on the engine room's exhaust uptakes, and 1 that struck and destroyed the ship's only 25mm chain gun mount on the port bridge wing. In 4 seconds, USS Cyclone had lost her bridge officer, her primary navigation and communications systems, her only primary armament, and had a fire burning aft. The commanding officer, Lieutenant Commander James Walsh, reached the bridge from his sea cabin in 41 seconds. He stepped through the bridge hatchway into a space that no longer resembled a ship's command center. The consoles were destroyed. Ensign Rivera was dead at his station. CPO Williams was on the deck, trying to stand, blood coming from both ears. 41 seconds after the first hit, the boats were still firing. The second rocket salvo came 17 seconds after the first. Some boats had reloaded faster than others. The second salvo was ragged, not simultaneous, but spread over approximately 4 seconds as each boat fired when it had a weapon ready. 14 rockets in the second salvo. USS Cyclone was still essentially stationary. Her engines had been at normal patrol speed when the attack began, and the helmsman, Seaman Apprentice Diaz, had gone full throttle immediately at the first impact. But a 331-ton ship does not accelerate instantly from 8 knots to 35 knots. 5 more rockets hit in the second salvo. 1 struck the forward hull plating below the waterline, the only below waterline hit of the entire engagement. The 107mm warhead detonated against the hull from the inside of the cavity, created by the initial penetration. The detonation opened a hole in the hull approximately 1 foot in diameter. Gulf water began entering the ship. A 1-foot hull penetration below the waterline at 11 feet of draft produces flooding at approximately 200 liters per minute in the Gulf Sea conditions that night. The ship's bilge pumps, automatically triggered by the flooding sensor, could handle approximately 300 liters per minute. The flooding was manageable, but USS Cyclone had no dedicated damage control party because a Cyclone-class crew of 28 people cannot simultaneously fight, navigate, communicate, treat casualties, and manage a hull breach. Lieutenant Commander Walsh made an immediate priority triage. He needed the ship to accelerate away from the attack. He needed a damage control party on the hull breach, and he needed communications to call for help. He had 28 people total. 6 were already casualties. He assigned Machinist's Mate 2nd Class Kim and Engineman 3rd Class Santos to the hull breach. He assigned Petty Officer First Class Diaz to the secondary radio on the aft deck, the only communication system that had survived the antenna destruction. He took the helm himself. USS Cyclone accelerated south at 32 knots. The boats pursued for approximately 90 seconds before breaking off. Fast attack boats at 40 knots can keep pace with a Cyclone-class vessel, but pursuing a fleeing target that is now heading away from the ambush zone and toward open water is a different tactical proposition from the initial attack. 3 of the 7 boats had sustained damage from the ship's machine gun crews. The M2.50 caliber mounts on the bridge wings, manned by their crews within 60 seconds of the first impact, and 2 boats were burning. The last rocket fired from the pursuing boats fell in the water astern of USS Cyclone at 2:33:41 a.m. The attack lasted 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Petty Officer Diaz reached the aft secondary radio at 2:33 a.m. and transmitted, "Navcent, USS Cyclone. Under attack. Attack complete. 1 KIA, multiple WIA. Hull breach. Flooding controlled. Proceeding south at 32 knots. Request immediate assistance. Position follows." 5th Fleet had the message at 2:33:22 a.m. The response was immediate. 2 SH-60 Seahawk helicopters from USS Bataan, an amphibious assault ship operating 62 nautical miles southwest, were scrambled. Flight time, 28 minutes. The IRGC fast attack boats, meanwhile, had turned northeast after breaking off the attack. The P-8 Poseidon operating in the central Gulf sector had been monitoring the engagement from its altitude. It had not detected the boats behind the platform, but it had detected the radio transmissions and the radar returns of the departing boats once they broke cover. The P-8 tracked all 7 contacts northward. 5 were heading directly for Iranian territorial waters. 2 had deviated. 1 was clearly stopped and losing speed, the crew likely dealing with fire damage. The second deviant contact was on a slow circling pattern, also possibly damaged. Authorization request for engagement of the retreating boats went out from 5th Fleet at 2:35 a.m. Authorization returned at 2:47 a.m. 12 minutes. 2 FA-18Es from USS Abraham Lincoln, Skull 41 and Skull 42, had launched at 2:38 a.m., 3 minutes after the P-8's contact report, and were at altitude above the boat group at 2:46 a.m. 5 of the 7 boats had entered Iranian territorial waters at 2:44 a.m., 2 minutes before authorization came through. The 2 damaged contacts, both still in international waters, were engaged. Skull 41's Maverick hit the stopped contact at 2:48 a.m. Skull 42's Maverick hit the circling contact at 2:49 a.m. Both boats were destroyed. The 5 boats that had reached Iranian territorial waters were not engaged. USS Cyclone arrived at a rendezvous point with the SH-60S at 2:59 a.m. The helicopters conducted a medevac of Ensign Rivera's body and the 5 most seriously wounded sailors. The SH-60S then established an overhead patrol above the damaged patrol ship as she proceeded south toward Qatar at 22 knots, her maximum sustainable speed with the hull breach and reduced engineering capability. The hull breach was contained throughout the transit. The bilge pumps stayed ahead of the flooding. The ship arrived at a naval facility at 6:20 a.m. The after-action review took 9 days. Finding 1. The oil platform concealment technique. The IRGC's use of the Salman platform as a staging point for the attack exploited a systematic gap in U.S. Navy surface surveillance procedures. Fixed contacts, oil platforms, permanently anchored structures were routinely filtered from active monitoring in the Gulf's crowded surface picture. The review recommended immediate implementation of a protocol requiring periodic radar checks of all fixed contacts within 5 nautical miles of a patrolling ship's track, specifically looking for changes in the return size or shape that could indicate boat staging. The protocol was implemented within 21 days, finding 2. The Cyclone-class vulnerability. The ship's complete lack of armor, its small crew size, and its single primary armament had been known limitations for years. The attack had exploited all 3 simultaneously. The review reiterated, for the 3rd time in 18 months, that Cyclone-class ships should not operate alone in waters where IRGC fast attack boat activity was assessed as possible. They should operate with a destroyer or frigate in mutual support, or with an overhead helicopter on station. Neither resource had been available to USS Cyclone that night because both were committed to other taskings. Finding 3. The authorization window and the platform concealment timing. The 7 boats had been staged at the Salmon platform for 4 hours before the attack. The attack had lasted 2 minutes and 38 seconds. The pursuing element, the 5 boats that escaped to Iranian territorial waters, had reached safety 12 minutes before authorization came through. The IRGC had planned for a 12-minute authorization window. They had staged their boats 4 hours early to ensure they would be cold and undetectable. They had executed a 2-minute attack, and they had given themselves a route to territorial waters that could be covered in 12 minutes from the attack position. They had planned around the authorization window. They had won the tactical race. 2 boats were destroyed, 5 escaped. 1 American sailor was killed. 5 were seriously wounded. 1 patrol ship was damaged and out of service for 3 weeks. By the IRGC's calculation, that was a success. Finding 4 addressed Ensign Rivera's death directly. He had been at his station, performing his function correctly, when the first rocket hit the bridge. There was no alternative station that would have placed the bridge watch officer away from the bridge. The review did not find fault with his positioning. It found fault with the vulnerability of the bridge structure direct rocket impact, and recommended emergency installation of blast-resistant transparent armor panels on the bridge windows of all Cyclone-class ships remaining in Gulf service. The panels were ordered immediately. Ensign Thomas Rivera was 23 years old. He had graduated from the Naval Academy 18 months before the engagement. He had been on his first deployment. He had been at his station doing his job when the rocket hit. He was buried at Arlington National Cemetery. The Cyclone class continued Gulf patrols. They always do. Stay vigilant, stay informed. This is Navy Beacon, and we'll see you in the next one.